Hello and welcome to UKVersus. The staff is on a 3-day vacation, so let's dive into what I learned at the summit and what I can tell you. But before that, let's talk about something else. I'm happy to sit here and answer questions. Robin's away at MCM Expo, so I can't stay for too long. I'm gonna go through the bits I want to talk about. I'm happy to answer questions, but before any of that, I want to talk about UK Games Expo. Thank you, Richard, for the sub. UK Games Expo is the UK's, possibly Europe's, outside of Eschenspiel, biggest board game convention. And it's one of the events I have been pushing UVS to get involved with since I joined the game. The other one being MCM Expo, which is the biggest collection of anime fans and anime IPs, and all the other card games go there as well. But yeah, as Richard pointed out, Essen isn't a board game convention, it's more of a trade fair. UK Games Expo is Gen Con for Europe. It is so big that when I was playing Keyforge, one of the people over in America who won a Voltor used the money, aka travel vouchers that they got for the winning the Voltor over there, to come to UK Games Expo. It was one of those things that it's a massive event. If you haven't heard of UK Games Expo, it's huge. It's absolutely massive, and the community is beautiful. There's a Viking kind of living experience outside. You can demo games, you can trade games, you can sell games, you can buy games. It is a whole community going on there. And Richard will be doing his stag do there. So if you are there, do say hi to Richard. And UVS announced that they were gonna be there. And I haven't been in years, and I completely forgot about it until Albuquerque. And I was like, when is it? Oh, it's 2 weeks away. So I'm signed up. I'm bringing Flynn, so I won't be playing in any events. But it's huge that UVS are even going to be there. This is a great onboarding opportunity for them. This is a great way for them to bring in more players that are board game players and not just IP fans. This is a great way to take our very good resource system, our very good and unique gameplay, the way that we interact with the game, and showcase it to people who may have never heard about this game. And given that it's also in Birmingham, which is in the Midwest of the UK, it's in an area that also doesn't have too many stores. So this is a great way to showcase the game off and get people involved with the game. However, UVS is also using this as an opportunity to demo some standalone events. Another thing that they said they were going to be doing, demoing standalone events outside of... Oh, lost my train of thought. Demoing standalone events outside of regionals. So on Friday at 10 AM we have Attack on Titan Apocalypse Sealed. Saturday we have Retro, and Sunday we have Teams. Now this is awesome. When I heard this was going down, when we got the announcement of that, that's great. However, that is all we heard. The event is a week away, and we have been scrounging for information. I've been chasing up with UVS, and I was told information will be coming quite soon. But it feels like they have a lot of plates spinning and not a lot of people around at the minute to do it. There is a lot of trade fairs going on here. We're a week out of Melbourne as well, so a lot of staff members are off traveling, and the other staff members have to pick up the slack. It's simple as. Unfortunately, there's not really a time in US where people are not overburdened with work. Is that an excuse? No, but it is a reason. So if I do come across as though I am being very lenient with the company, trust me, I'm as annoyed as the rest of you, but I understand that things fall through the cracks. It just sucks that once again the international community is one of the things that fell through the cracks. So outside of the lack of advertising for pricing, the fact that the promo has not been put widely promoted, I have been posting it in Critical Role groups, and I've been posting it in board game groups that I'm in, because the Mighty 9 promo is absolutely gorgeous. The artist found it as well and absolutely loves that this is coming to the UK Games Expo, and I absolutely love that. If you haven't seen the Might 9 promo, unfortunately I haven't got an image ready because, like I said, Robin is away, and this is what I've thrown together quickly because Cam is away. But what I have up in here is for Saturday. But before I get into this, please UVS, do advertise more, even if it's just getting information to myself and the Dobbers and other things about when events go live, what the price is going to be, so we can get content out there, so we can get the information out there. You know, Sean is absolutely great and loves this community. If you just told Sean, this is what the pricing are is, this is when stuff's going down, Sean would have promoted these events. Our community would have loved to promote these events. And as Gary quite rightly pointed out on Discord, this also should have been on the UK Games Expo. This is where I have been looking for it. I didn't expect it to pop up on UGN. I've been looking for it on the UK Games Expo site because they have their own internal event organizer as well, which is a great place for new players, people that are looking at the events, to go, ooh, Universus. They've got sealed teams and retro. What are these events? I should go check that out. It's a great way of advertising and making people aware this game exists before they even walk through the door. Get in their head. The promo is another one that I put on the Critical Role Facebook, and people are going, I am immediately going there. 9 AM Friday, people are going to be at Hall 4 Booth H. Thank you, Richard. And they're going to be doing the demos. They'll be going for these promos because I've promoted out there. And it sucks that UVS haven't. And I get things fall for the cracks. I know these guys are very busy with all the new stuff coming out, with all the other stuff going on. It absolutely sucks that this has fallen through the cracks. But the big thing that the UK community is a little bit angry about at the minute is the retro event on Saturday. Not only has it not been advertised, not only do we not know what it's going to be fighting for, which will have affect teams. Teams is going to be a tiny event. But people were looking forward to playing retro. I know people that were specifically going to UK Games Expo to play retro. And the event went live on UGN. We didn't know the event went live on UGN. We got told by Guile in Discord that the event was on UGN. So we went and looked it up. And we're met with this. Additional information. This event will follow the Rochester Retro rule set. Players may not attack turn 1. Deck building is the same as standard, so all cards must share a primary symbol. Players may build and stack additional characters in, and as long as they're the same name and icon. Additional suspended cards include Devil Jin, Colossal Thermal Blast, Shiva, Goro, Nick Reagan, Resurrected Evil, Jeffrey, Suspicious of Mr. X. So the four-handers are banned straight out again. They were brought back last year. They're gone now. And Nick Reagan is gone, which is a shame. Nick Reagan will never, is like a Zor, he'll never see his light of day in a true retro event. But these are not official rules. We've had Sean O'Brien and we've talked about this. This is rules that the Rochester Retro Council have put into effect themselves. This is a talk that the council has had. And it's not like a shady hooded council like I've made it like I've led it to believe in the past. This is just a group of players that have identified these cards are a problem. And as Rich said, clearly they're trying to make them official. And I'm all for it. I'm all for a community-driven retro rule set and ban list and everything that's going on from there. And it's worked well for Magic in the past outside of death threats. It's worked well for other games where they've had the community kind of take over. I know Gwent turned to community led. Commander had before it was taken back in, had the Commander Council that would organize the ban list. And if UVS do not want to put the resources in because they are very busy with all these new games and all this new stuff coming out, that they're going to go, we'll outsource retro to Rochester and let them make up the rules, that's fine. But say that. Let the community know. Let us have some time to absorb and process this information. This was completely thrown at us out of nowhere. No announcement, no kind of information. And honestly, it should have included the Dobbers. Any discussion on changes to retro by the community should have included the biggest community supporters of retro in the UK. And when this rule set was brought up, like the Rochester rule set, I put in the Patriot Discord and I messaged Sean going, are we going to see anything like this from Chelmsford? And Sean said, maybe. I'll speak to Dubbers, they'll have a chat and they'll see if there's anything that the UK community feel is a threat to be banned. And we could have ended up with this whole kind of murky kind of situation, but at least it would have been a discussion with the biggest retro supporters in the UK. For those who are unaware, the Dubbers have been supporting retro in the UK since day one. During retro events here, they have been giving away bundles of retro cards to players who took part in retro. Even if you just turned up in a standard list, Dubbers would give you a retro bundle. They also had a winner retro deck from the Dubbers, where if you took on Michael Murray using one of his retro decks that he had built specifically for this, and you beat that deck, you walked away with that deck. And there were things like Bass, and there was some Mortal Kombat, there was some Red Horizon, there was some great characters mixed in with that the Dubbers have done for this. And they weren't consulted on this. They are the biggest source of information for UK retro, and they're having American rule set thrust upon them out of nowhere. Richard won a Heidi from them at Nationals. That was the one I was trying to remember when I said Red Horizon. It absolutely sucks, not because we're getting Rochester retro, but because it wasn't communicated. And as I've said in Discord, I've said other things like this is, to me, just a simple situation of too many plates, not enough people to spin them. You've got Guile on his way to Oceania. You've got trade events going on around IPs and other card games going on where UVS needs to be showing its face and getting Universus and Riftbound known to the bigger community. They've just had a Riftbound event down in China where we got lots of leaks, we got lots of information. It wouldn't surprise me if UVS was a part of that event as well. And it's just a very spread thin company at the minute, because they've got so much going on and things will fall through the cracks. And it seems that once again, international players have fallen through the cracks. And it's not a big thing. When the reason that we're blowing it up is because it is a lot of small things that have converged together to make it a big thing. It is the fact that they announced we would be at UK Games Expo when they announced the OP schedule. And then we've not heard anything from it until we found out, yes, there'll be these 3 events. That's cool. Then we heard nothing. We've had no communication. We've had nothing going from there. And UVS is getting better at its communication. I know Richard is saying it's standard UVS communication, but it's not anymore. Look at the Albuquerque regionals last week. They asked us, should we start playing streaming on YouTube? And we said yes. You should. It costs you nothing. It's not changing anything. You should be streaming to Twitch and YouTube. And that was an immediate change they did. They did it. They listened to us. They are listening to the community. Regionals pricing has changed. That's a great show that they're listening to the community. They are listening. They are communicating. But as Zeal and other people have quite rightly said, that communication has dipped a lot since January. In January, Paul put on Facebook a massive list of the year's goals, what UVS would be doing, that they'd be putting community first, that they'd be working through all of this. And it was great to see. We had this long string of where we were getting communication, and it's so good. UVS has that benefit of being small, that we get to have chats. If I was playing Magic, there's not a single chance that I would be able to have daily chats with the creative lead about artists, about other things like that, just because I'm a content creator. It wouldn't happen. I'd have to go through his assistant to his assistant to his assistant. So we have that benefit of being small, that we have this communication alley, but at the same time it breaks down once the company starts becoming overwhelmed. Once there's so many tasks going on that they're not able to keep up with it and things fall through the cracks. And this is an example of it. I'm not knocking Rochester Retro before anyone comes at me in there. I'm not knocking that it's not a well-researched list. It's just that it's not been communicated. I was asking earlier this week if we were going to be getting information because we hadn't had pricing, and I wanted to make content on this. I wanted to come back from Albuquerque and immediately dive into UK Games Expo stuff, and that's why Wednesday, Thursday, I had fluff content going out because that is days I'd set aside to make UK Games Expo, but I had backup videos ready to go, and we had no information. And it's a real shame. It's such a good convention. This is such a big get, and it could be so impactful for the game in our community to push and get the numbers up and get the things in there. And it just seems to have been fumbled. And like, yeah, the company's busy. They have a lot going on. There's a lot of stuff happening around all the other stuff going on in the community. But it does just kind of suck that it didn't really go down the way we wanted it to. We didn't have that kind of communication that we needed. The Universes are working, UVS, are working very hard. And they have got lots of very good games coming out. And there's lots of information coming out. And yeah, I don't want to stick too much on this because I do want to get into... Yes, so Hitch, UVS has nothing to do with that if Rochester does it if they're a TO. Yes, but this is for UK Games Expo. And Rochester aren't going to TO a UK event, I believe. This, I don't know. Can I actually pull up the events? I think I should still up. Pricing, you get 1 Mighty 9 convention promo and 1 pack of Attack and Time promo per win. It is additional information. It doesn't say who's actually organizing it. That's a weird one. I assume that because there's no TO, there's nothing in there. It's a UVS official, like UVS run event. But yeah, if you go to I'll link it in there for you, Hitch. We're talking about the UK Games Expo events, and if I link the event in here, there's no information on who the TO is. There's no information on judges. There is just the format, the tiebreakers, the round time limit, the additional information, but that is it. It's okay if you missed the start of it, Hitch, but yeah, I'm talking about the UK Games Expo, which I assumed was going to be done by Patriot Games. They do all our events. As far as I'm aware, they're not doing it, but don't quote me on that. So I don't know who the TO is for this. But this was on the official page for it, and it just says that they were using Rochester Retro at UK Games Expo. And the community kind of popped off at this. And it's understandable that the community popped off at this. So yeah, I wouldn't be on here complaining about a Rochester vended or a Round 3 vended or any kind of American event using the Rochester rules. I don't have any visibility into UK Games Expo or tournaments we're running, but I don't think we would be running a retro event ourselves. Well, this is really weird then. We've stumbled into one of my classic conspiracy theories, because there is no information as to who. Usually along the right hand side it says who the TO is, who the organizers are. There's nothing here. So that's exactly, Richard. Well, somebody's running it, and somebody chose to put Rochester Retro on there, and somebody has disappointed a lot of the community, and that does kind of suck. I'm not saying that it is on you guys. I know you guys are spinning a lot of plates at the minute. You've got a lot of stuff going on, but to me, the communication side of it, the fact we haven't got posts on the Facebook group like we did leading up to Albuquerque or the Gen Con meet last year and other stuff like that. We haven't had any kind of post saying come meet Levi at UK Games Expo and get a demo, or come see the Street Fighter 6 stuff that's coming out next month, and you know, having some hype around UK Games Expo. So even UK Games Expo is posted, so we can post it and get this cool stuff. I would love to have the information myself and get content out there. I can try and pump some out if you guys get articles out in the next few days, but it's one of the things I wanted to really get with a week's notice. As I said a little bit earlier, Hitch, I've been posting the Mighty 9 promo in the Critical Role Facebook groups. I posted it into the Reddit, and people absolutely love it. And they want that promo. There's people that are planning to go there straight away on Friday and pick up that promo, do the demo, and get involved with this game because that information got out to them. Without me, that information would have just kind of sat there, and like no one would have known until they went to the event. It could have been missed by people. You're literally just like repeating what I love it, Hitch, because Hitch is in there. I forgot to set up the chat bit here. We're just seem to defining what retro is and what as we focus on standard stuff. It's something that isn't officially run or supported by us, so we aren't going to communicate on it on our channels. I get that, I guess, but at the same time, it was in the article you put for UK Games Expo. You're going to be running retro. And although retro may be defining what Rochester may be defining what retro is across the pond, the Dobbers are defining what retro is over here. They are the ones that have pushed retro. They are the ones that have got people into retro. They're the people that go, you need card for retro, you need a deck for retro, you want to get into retro as a new player. We can support you. We can get you what you need. You can win decks from us. You can get more retro cards just for taking part in events. They are throwing retro cards at players just for taking part in the event as additional prizing. So if any part of the community was going to influence this event, it really should have been the Dobbers, as I said a little bit earlier, Hitch. And I get that, like you're saying, you guys don't have any purview over retro, and Rochester are the ones defining it, but it feels like a discussion was missed here. And I don't know I don't want to harp on too much about this because I really want to get into the summit. I've been quite quiet for a week about the summit. Yeah, no shade from you, Hitch. Absolutely love you, Hitch, and I appreciate your book and everything I've got behind me. It's hard to say. I know Giles on his way to Oceania. I know people are out and about doing everything, and you guys are still on holiday, so I appreciate you being here while you've got your 3-day weekend as well. But it just feels like a bit of a breakdown in communication between the TO, between yourselves, between the community. Something's kind of slipped through the cracks, and I know we'll never know exactly what happened. We'll never know exactly what went down. But unfortunately, that is just the way it's gone down. If you are going to be at UK Games Expo, do stop by the UVS booth. Just go to the tables. I'm going to be hanging around there the event with Flynn. I'm looking forward to seeing Carlos and getting to see a lot of people I missed at Chelmsford Regionals. I'm also going to be checking out Daggerheart because I believe Downton Press is there, and they've sold out of Daggerheart in literally 5 days. Downton Press, like the main distribution, has sold out of Daggerheart, which is absolutely nuts to me. But I digress. Let's move on to the summit. So yes, Richard, I did ask about Genshin Impact. I knew that would be one of the things you wanted to talk about, so I made sure to ask about Genshin Impact, as it was one of the big things. Unfortunately, we didn't learn anything about anything that's coming after Guilty Gear outside of Godzilla. And before H starts typing, I confirmed that I'm allowed to talk about Godzilla. And keep an eye on the channel because we have the Gigan PvE beta going live, where myself, Response and Play, Brodekin, and Hitch all team up to try and take out this brand new PvE experience. And from what we've been told, PvE is getting better. They've listened to our research, listened to what we've said. They've listened to the community. They've seen the gameplay. They've seen what's gone on with Critical Role. And they've understood some things need to change with the bosses. And some things need to change in the rules. And those changes are coming in. So that is absolutely nuts. Next thing I want to... So, outside of that, and it was a lot of fun, so don't get me wrong at that. Let's talk about one of Richard's most loved things, accessibility. So, accessibility is a big thing for this channel. Richard, while he was still making content, made sure that when we were looking at new stuff, when we were getting our reveals, when we were going over a product, it was a case of how easy is this to read? How accessible is this to the visually impaired? And yeah, UVS once again are listening to us. They are paying attention to what we're saying. They're taking all this on board, and especially when they got the feedback around Obsidians, but from not only ourselves, but from the commentators of events. When someone plays an Obsidian, it's really hard for the people running the streams to go, what card is that? And if you don't clearly communicate it, or if it has a nickname, because I sat across from Tam at Albuquerque, and he's got a nickname for pretty much every single card in his deck that he was playing that evening, because he hadn't played it all weekend, so he wanted to play his Beast Titan deck, and every single card in his deck has a nickname. It was really weird to see. So if someone drops a nickname card at a Obsidian that's hard to read, commentators don't know what's going on, community doesn't know what's going on, and it gets a little bit harder. Obsidians were hard to read, and that's kind of addressed other things that UVS have gone, maybe we can make everything a bit clearer. And a great example of that is Street Fighter. So something that a lot of people may not have noticed because we're too busy looking at the amazing art and the abilities, is if we take a look at the enhance and response on the card. So the enhance and response on this card are now a highlighted version of what we used to get. So this is very cool. The enhance is no longer yellow with the same background. It's no longer green with the same background. It is a highlighted black text. This is black text against a highlighted color, clear, easy to read. When your opponent plays this across from you, you know immediately looking at it that this has one enhance and one response. Very cool, very easy to see. And the characters have already been spoiled. I did double check this, so I'm not going to get in trouble for showing these imagery. So this is just another aspect of accessibility, making things easier to read, making things easier to see. UVS have understood that it is hard to see sometimes that on a orange background that the yellow enhance may not stand out the clearest. On an asset, responses may not stand out the clearest. If you have any kind of visual impairment, they could blend together. Makes it very hard to read, and accessibility is something UVS is playing around with. They're looking at changing, and they are looking at making it easy, fun, and accessible for everyone to play this game. When I say everyone, however, we're not looking at localized languages anytime soon. Even plain yellow text was easier to read than the original gradient text. Yes, this is a step further. So yeah, I should point out that the original enhances were a gradient yellow-orange on the MHA 1 and 2 cards. Then when we got the redesign with Jetburn, we got the solid colors that was easier to read against the yellow text on the orange. And this is a step further. Similar to the chromes where we had Heroes Clash that got better and better and better as chromes get more and more detailed, as the alt arts get better and better and better. We're seeing this happen with every aspect of the game. UVS is learning, they're absorbing, they're taking the community feedback. They are listening to you, they're listening to me, they're listening to everyone about what we're struggling with, what we would like, and they're taking it on board and going, is this something that the community wants? or is this something that the game needs? Increased accessibility is something that the game needs, as well as something we want. And this is a great step forward, and I'm sure we'll see more as the game grows even more. This is very cool. I absolutely love this. The symbols on there, and I missed it threw me off my trail of thought, so I don't quite remember what I was talking about before this. Sorry about that. But it's something that we will see more and more as the game goes on, that the game is going to get easier to read. It's going to get easier to identify cards across as soon as you see them coming across from you. I was talking about characters. Oh, I don't know what I was talking about. I don't. I'm sure it'll come back to me. But that's actually going to bug me now. The symbols have got better. We've seen that the traits and the keywords are underneath the name. That's something that changed from Jetburn again. As much as we like to complain, UVS don't listen, or it takes time for change to come in, and UVS want this game to be the best game. They want this game to be the best game in the world, and I've told them directly to their face at the summit, I will hold you to that standard. And this is a great step forward. This is a great way to get going. What else have I got lined up to talk about here? Let's have a look. Judge program, yes. So, I do apologize. I know this was one of the biggest things you guys asked me to ask while we were out there, and I completely forgot about it. Luckily, someone else jumped in as we were wrapping up the OP talk, and the judge program is still a priority. It's taking a little bit longer. They're waiting on rubber stamps and like the finalized things to come through, but Josh told us there are some questions ready to go. The judges are going to get their own points. They're going to have their own redemption star to help them get things to judge. It looks like judging is going to have its own closed circuit reward system that is going to be very good for judging. It's going to have a nice sort of point system which will encourage you to take part in judging, and I think this is absolutely great. I would love it to drop now, but having the judge program, just even hearing that it's progressing is great. We know it's coming. Paul confirmed it was on its way. I know it's been a point of contention for everyone, but I want to see it coming. The judge program is something that everyone has been kind of asking for. Our rules are so complex. Our interactions are so complex. The layers of how deep interactions in this game gets. It's very good that we'll have this judge program coming in to help things get clearer and to help people become better at this game. So Paul unfortunately couldn't make it out to the summit, but did drop in for a call just to say hi, just to let us know that he was very excited to see us all there. It was very cool to have Paul on the big screen. It's a shame we didn't get to see the man in person again, but I'm sure that he will show up at some events in the future. But primarily, as cool as Paul is, this year's summit, which I'll get rid of the judge pro thing on there, compared to last year's summit, this year's summit was a lot more technical. Last year's summit was, here's all the flashy things we're doing in the next few months. Here's all this new information, new IPs, new stuff that will come. It was kind of like last year's summit was a preparation for the rest of the year. Here's Attack on Titan. Here's a glimpse at Soul Leveling. Here's a glimpse at the Dark Hero Challenger. Here's glimpses at what we're coming, so you can build hype for the game, as well as then here's what we do for marketing. It was a lot longer last year, and that is my biggest feedback. I wished this one had been longer. We spent what, we started at 3:30 and we finished about just before 9 because we wanted to do the redacted cool thing on the agenda. So we had 5.5 hours, or 5.5 hours, and Matt was still rushing at the end. Similar to the first summit where we started, 10 a.m. and we finished at 4 p.m. and we had to legitimately skip the last thing at the end of the summit because we just couldn't be stopped talking. And yeah, although we're going a bit more into the technical side of stuff, I wish it would have. I honestly, Hitch, yes, I would. There was so many things that over the weekend, I was like, I forgot to ask this, I forgot to talk about this, and it was, I'm glad I bumped into so I could have the hush conversations in the corner, but it wasn't the same. Yeah, it was very cool to have it. They didn't show our thumbnails off this time, which I appreciate. Last year's summit, I came back with a drive to produce better content, to up my game even further. And that's because Paul put all our thumbnails up, and we were basically told this is how to become better as a content creator, and it was more of an open forum. Whereas this time, Matt and Hitch just went, here's the tools, here's how you can improve on a technical basis. It wasn't about, here, get hyped, here's how you can hype up your content, here's how you can make better content. It was about, here's how you as content creators should be labeling your content. Here's services online, here's tools that you can use, here's resources that you can use to make sure that the maximum amount of people are seeing your content. That was great. That was amazing. And I know other content creators have put in Discord that they've come back and they've had that same kind of fire that I had from the first one. And I've still got that fire. I mean, my fire's been burning since last time, so I didn't really need a reignition. My daily content didn't stop. To the point, actually, my daily content kind of increased. I've still got regional stuff I need to go through, but I'm organizing more and more interviews with more and more artists, and yeah, the technical side of things. So it wasn't more about here's how to get hyped for Street Fighter. It was here's Street Fighter. Here's what it's got. Here's what the cards do. Here's what we expected to do. And yes, I was called out quite a lot for my theories during the summit. I was told specifically that information we would be getting was not confirmation of any of my theories, which really did suck because I would love to be able to go, I got a win under my belt. It's like, no, this is not a confirmation. But it's like, damn it. I also wasn't told which theories they weren't confirming. And with Hitch being there, I was really hoping to get a confirmation on the Nickelodeon Shakespeare sort of theory. That would have been great. But it was more about here's Street Fighter, here's how we designed it, here's a little bit about the references and Easter eggs and the history of Street Fighter in our game and the history of the universal fighting system and how we're bringing it into this one challenger. And the entire Street Fighter kind of challenger series is a love letter to the history of UFS. It is so very cool, and I've got more videos coming out on this, and there's other things that are going on that will explain why I feel this is a love letter to the history of UFS, especially in this next year's 20th anniversary. But one of the things they brought up was the accessibility. They immediately wanted us to know this is what we're doing to make it more accessible. This is what we're doing to improve the game. It wasn't about here's Street Fighter and this is why you should be hyped for it. It wasn't artificial smoke. It wasn't here, get hyped up on the product and don't look too closely at it like a few people felt the Attack on Titan set 1 was. Goddamn Hitch. The Nickelodeon theory is way off base. But you wouldn't tell me if I was on point. That's the big thing. And then when we get into other things such as TMNT, we got TMNT news and it was great. But it wasn't about oh yes, here's TMNT, here's all the new stuff we're bringing in, and here's all the new abilities, and here's all the new characters. It was, here's TMNT, and here's how we're differentiating against common, uncommon, and rare, and accessibility level. Here's TMNT, and here's how we're making the cards easier to read. Here's TMNT, and here's how we're looking at the past, and we're looking at old universes, we're looking at old UFS, we're looking at what the players want and what the players have said would make the game better, and here's how we're bringing it into the game. It was all about the hype for the game, not the hype of the IP. And it was all about the artists, it was all about the game, it was all about the gameplay, it was all about the flow. Lachar was mentioned talking about the amazing art they've done for these booster packs. And it's something that I brought up in my interview with him. Lachar did the art for the TMNT booster packs. Lachar is working on TMNT. To what extent, we'll find out in the future, hopefully. But Lachar did the Critical Role secret rares, and he did a great job on that. And it's something I would love to see him get more access to more cards. I would love to see him express this art in through other ways, and I hope he gets more opportunities to do it. We did get to find out the TMNT characters, and if you haven't seen Ace Maneuver's video going over it, go check it out. He talks about it a bit. I will be doing follow-up content myself about the TMNT characters and going over my predictions and what I got right, what I got wrong. But that's future content. But we did talk a little bit about Street Fighter, about TMNT, about Guilty Gear. I'm not going to go into what that stuff does because I want you to be hyped. I'm going to apologize to the entire community for last year's summit. I thought it would be fun to do the whole I know something you don't know, or I have information that you want. I thought it'd be a great way to drive people towards the content, to take a look, and to get hyped with me when the information came out. I now know that was just annoying. That was just infuriating for the community to have a select 10 people lord this information over you. So I'm not going to do it this time. I'm not going to tease, I'm not going to flaunt, I'm not going to use any information I have to make myself stand out or be above any other member of the community. It's not fair to you, it's not fair to me, it's not fair to anyone. We are all players, we all love this game, we all want this game to succeed and be the best card game out there. And when you've got people basically going, oh, this is coming and you'll love it, or this is coming, you'll hate it. No. I'm going to essentially blank myself of all the abilities, anything mechanically I learned about from the summit, because I want to experience that first time with you. I didn't go in there writing it all down like in the last time. I went there to learn about the company, about the game, and the game's future. And that is what the Content Creator Summit should be. So this is a hand-on-heart apology to everyone for last year. I'm very sorry for the way I acted. I'm very sorry that anyone I made feel unimportant or less than, or any content creator that felt alienated by my content or the way I talked about last year's summit. I did try to get as much information as I came across, but I also know that I was very annoying with the information I had. So this year, I'm not doing that. This year, I'm going to chuck all the information I have at you when I can, and then I'm going to shut up about the rest until I can talk about it. Simple as. And if you see me or you hear me breaking this promise, feel free to call me out. Feel free to just say, you said you weren't going to do this, and I will stop. That's my promise to you guys. That moment out of the way, TMNT is going to be very cool. The game is going in a cool direction. We're not adapting the second half of Tales of TMNT, so the kind of like character side of it is a little bit more skewed than I thought it was going to be, but it's still got some very cool stuff coming in that side of it. Mutant Mayhem and Tales of TMNT is the main focus of the set. This is something I've talked about in my previous videos. This is where I thought the direction was going to go with the 80s alt arts and sort of like influence coming from more a nostalgia collector aspect outside of the starter set, of course. And I got clarification actually, yes. So, as much as Sam Tate said it sounded like a bit, there was a lot of confusion on the starter deck that said you were getting one character that made all 4 turtles playable. So the one thing I made sure to ask was, are we getting 4 turtle character cards or a starter character that has all 4 turtles? And it was a back and forth. And so, yes, the way we're reading it is correct on the sell sheet. It is one character in the starter deck with 4 turtles. What that character does, what that character says, no idea. That was absolutely kept away from us. But it is not 4 turtles in the deck in 4 characters. It is one character with 4 turtles. You can see how it's like the 4 candles bit there. This is going to be a great nostalgia. It's going to be great onboarding aspects, and how you try and balance that kind of hot pot of personality and playstyle and fight style of the 4 turtles into a single starter is going to be very interesting. But I think it's a great choice from the company to go, here's one character with all 4 turtles on it, and going, you need to buy 4 starter decks to get one of each turtle. That was a very easy trap that the company's kind of skated over. And it's great to see that kind of growth and risk taking, or going, yeah, here's the character there. And that's really cool. Don't get me wrong, that's very, very cool. So that's just some clarification of the sell sheet on the UVS website, that it says you get a character card with all the turtles. Yeah, it's not 4 characters, it's one character with all 4 turtles on. If anyone has got any questions in the chat about the summit, I will answer to the best of my degree. Apparently my throat's also getting a little bit dry. Now, another thing I made sure to directly ask about: printing and shim lines. Now, as much as I am an advocate of shim lines, I did also spend 5 minutes going through every single one of the solo leveling uncut sheets to make sure mine did not have any. When they're in my deck, don't mind them. For display purposes, I too get annoyed at them. But that's the only time you'll hear me say anything bad about shim lines. Okay? Clip it, soundbite it, don't care. So, I asked about this, and it is something that is a natural process of the way that UVS prints. And I've heard a lot of people going, why not just use what other people do? Or why can Pokemon do it? Or why can Pokemon and MTG get away with it? Why can't we just do what they're doing? Plainly put, trade secrets. Printing process of other games is a trade secret. So UVS Games cannot ask about them. It's as simple as that. They cannot go, oh, how do you guys print your cards? Like, we're not going to tell you. Why would we tell you this? This is how we make our money. So UVS are constantly experimenting. And the way that they print at the minute is a 56 card sheet. And they do their best to kind of match those numbers to the 56 card sheet. But if you look at the uncut sheets we get at regionals, if you look at the cards, they don't always line up. Some foiling patterns are going to go over. So it's one of those things that trying to get the numbers to match up is hard. And sometimes you end up with a jet burn situation where the numbers match up so poorly that you get the discard cards in the packs. Now, there are people that collect them, and I know Nick Reagan has one in his cube. But it isn't great for the company. It isn't great for the company that wants to be the best card game in the world to have it on here. Printing and shim lines, they know the community hate them. They're a natural part of the process, and if Hitch is still here, I'm going to word this very carefully. Experiments are currently underway to establish means of eradicating shim lines. They are currently working on multiple methods and looking at multiple experiments to try and find a way to eradicate shim lines. It may not be a quick process because we don't want an obsidian situation. It's not going to be it's not going to be your shim lines are active research and development. Yes, thank you, Hitch. It is something they're actively looking to eliminate, and it's that I wanted to put it in there. I know we've had the meme answers from things like Andrew Adam of the Dobbers, where they were told, "Oh, shim lines are printing errors; they're worth more," or it's just something that happens. But no, UVS is not dumb. UVS is not going to sit there and go, "The community does not like these." Outside of a few weirdos that like them when they're right down the middle, chef's kiss. But shim lines are in active research and development to get eradicated. I don't have a time frame for you, unfortunately. The wheels of change move slowly, but it is on the chopping block to get destroyed. They are aware of it, and it is something that they're looking to get rid of, and that is absolutely awesome. As Hitch has said in research, and as Hitch said in our streams, as Hitch has said in multiple interviews, he wants to add the coolest thing to cards. He wants alternate arts, chromes, specialty cards such as pearls and obsidians, and UV reactive cards like we've seen on the sell sheet for TMNT are coming. That these cards look amazing, that they are the coolest cards on the market. And Hitch is not going to be happy if the cool thing he's doing is this amazing process, like the Ghidorah textured alter arts. If one of those comes out and it's got a shim line right down the side, because that detracts from all the hard work that the design team and the creativity team has put in to making this card as cool as possible, and that sucks. So trust me, as much as we as players may hate it, imagine being a person that spent weeks, months working on these cards, working on this art, making it as cool, as aesthetically pleasing as possible, and it has a line down it. No chance. Oh no, I'm doing a set that is all shim lines, at least 4 every card. I mean, Hitch, you meme, but I'm sure there's people that be go for that. And I mean, is it... when I complain about one line, buckle up. I mean, that's another approach you can take, I guess. It's not a bug if you turn it into a design feature. Like, if you incorporate the shim line, if you're like a tartan background, so the shim line just kind of blends in, or like, you just make the shim lines part of the textured foiling. It becomes like one of those things. It's a bad thing when you don't get a shim line in that set. Then you're the weird one. Alright. But yes, this is a lot of cool stuff that is coming down. Shim lines looking to get rid of. Anyone got any questions from in there? Because like I said, I quickly kind of threw this together because I wasn't actually intending to go live today because camera's away. Oop. So has anyone got anything they want to know from the summit, or anything I may have missed or not covered from the previous topics? It was a Universus Summit, so if you got any questions about Roll for It, Castle Panic, Riftbound, I don't have answers for you. I wish I did. I did bug them about it, but I was just met with the wall of, this is a Universus Summit, Brett. Shut up. They're a lot more tactful about it, but that's like after the 10th time being told that, that's kind of how I come across it. Yes, Connor. Master Splinter is in the set. I've seen the characters. I should have probably double checked what the email wording was before I said that. Am I in trouble for that? Nah, I'm pretty sure Sam Tate said worse. Page. Why am I on page 2? Just quickly check my email. I'm going to assume he's part of the list, even though he's not officially mentioned. So I may reveal that Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, Michelangelo, April O'Neil, Bebop, and Rocksteady are all part of the set. And I'm going to take a slight creative liberty and confirm, yes, Splinter is also in the set. I was completely wrong about Splinter. I was completely wrong about April. But in my defense, I thought we were adapting both halves of TMNT. We are not. We are adapting the first half. So there's no Mustang Sally. There's no... It's very likely we're going to see Pigeon Pete. And I'm legitimately heartbroken about Pigeon Pete. And Mustang Sally, Goldfin. If we're adapting the first half of Tales of TMNT, it's fair to assume that Bishop is part of the set. We're getting into like this kind of grey area. I'm assuming that like the thing they sent me, it's just gone very quiet, and I'm very worried about this now. Just quickly check on there. I'm just gonna go with yes. Bishop is. I do not have the full list now. So outside of Hitch, can I confirm who is not in the set? Because I think that might be just as angry as other people. So outside of I can guess away. That's absolutely fine. I can speculate. I don't think I can post any more speculation theory videos because that's just bad form that you guys might be thinking I'm giving you information from the summit. Quality and control improvements. When is Blitz going away? Okay, actually, I'll get my notes for that because that's a great point, Richard. So I did take a lot of notes. Not as many as last time. So Blitz, we didn't really talk about Blitz. We talked about Blitz outside of the summit, but for design and stuff like that, we were more focused about the new stuff that was coming in. But Blitz looks like it's here to stay. Same with Attunement. Attunement isn't going away anytime soon. I did bring up about like making it more critical role style, where we see some Blitz and some some attuned and some non-attuned, and we may see more of that in the future. But they couldn't confirm or deny anything that's going on there. Yeah, Mutant Mayhem movie and the first half of Tales of TMNT. So that's where we're drawing for the characters. It's kind of cool that we're getting 15 characters from what equates to what? First half of TMNT, Tales of TMNT is 6 episodes, so that's 2 hours. The movie is just under 2 hours. That's 4 hours worth of content, and we're getting 15 characters out. That's pretty cool. Thanks for the message, Hitch. I was just double checking that email myself. I'm not going to break NDA. Summit AOT1 2024 takeaways from the summit. AOT1, the biggest pre-release UVS ever had, but they have learned from AOT1, and they have told us there will be no more 300 card sets. No more. Not a chance. Got it here in writing. No more 300 card sets. That made everyone in the room happy. No more 300 card sets. Whether we get a 299 card set, that's being pedantic, but you know, no more 300 card sets is absolutely huge. In terms, yeah, no, it's gonna even more fighting games planned to be released. Yu Yu Hakusho is sold out at the distribution. Soul Leveling is sold out at distribution. Godzilla sold out at distribution, with Critical Role very close behind. This has shown massive growth for UVS. I'm just gonna sit here and read my notes for a little bit. Stores are paying more attention to UVS now. So stores are looking at UVS through Critical Role, through Soul Leveling, through Attack on Titan, all these IPs, and things like Levi's recruitment squad, where he goes out into the stores, and other things like that. They're looking at UVS and Universus, and we're starting to mend bridges with stores that are giving up on us. New stores are looking to take risks with us, and more people are looking to invest in the game. And one of the other things that is helping with this, and please let me hold your hand while we go for this, Riftbound is good for Universus. Riftbound offers more legitimacy to UVS Games. Working with Riot, working with Riftbound, getting that name slapped, getting UVS slapped on Riftbound in stores is going to help us get our name out there. And when people look at distribution at UVS Games and they see Riftbound, they'll also see Universus, and that will help more people take a risk on us. UVS already has kind of set its distributors for Riftbound, but if other distributors want to get hold of Riftbound in the future, it's great for them to establish a relationship with UVS. It's great to establish that kind of rapport by stocking their other games, such as Roll For It, or Castle Panic, or Universus, the game that has been their flagship for 19 years. Being attached to a big company is good for going. Yeah, well, the amount of people that have been kicking off with me because I've been making Riftbound content, I wanted just to make sure that everyone was on the same boat. That yes, Riftbound is going to be good for the game, and as content creators, I still want to be. I want to be making Riftbound content as well, because if someone goes to Riftbound, sees UVS Games on there, and they come to see my content, this Universus, it's great. I don't want to be a Universus content creator. I want to be a UVS Games content creator. And that's why I'm going to cover games like Roll For It, and I want to make more Star Realms content, and I want to talk a bit more about Castle Panic when it comes out. I want to become more varied, but that's about me. We're not here to talk about me. You terrible shill. Actually, Richard, remind me after I finish this up. I want you to come back for one more video. Just one. Just one. Let's have a look what we got in here. Players are turning up for pre-releases. They're turning up for events where I've got IPs that they want to them, because of how the advertising is going down. Because thanks to Matt, thanks to Levi, thanks to the amazing team, the advertising team and the organized play team, getting our advertisements out there. Things like I can't remember, the roadmap wrap, it really helped. We're getting covered by IGN, The Gamer, TCG Player writing articles about us. We're getting more press out there because of how we're getting out there. Brown envelope full cash. I thought it was the brown tube with. I thought it was the brown tube with the silk screen Ghidorah poster. Is it at the bottom of that? So, yeah, pre-releases are getting bigger with the way that people are ordering TMNT, the way that projections of TMNT are going. It is set to be the biggest pre-release of the game. They're expecting it to overtake AOT1, and that is huge. Seeing as AOT1 kind of dwarfed everything else, for them to have this much confidence in TMNT, it must be doing quite well. Moving on to accessibility, something that you're going to love here, Richard, and other people. We're getting more learn to play information. We've seen the update to the UVS website, where if you go to Universus and you go how to play, it goes through a bit more detailed breakdown. But the new Street Fighter 6 Challenger is getting a bigger booklet, easier to read. It is going to be larger, it is going to have more pages, and in those additional 4 pages is going to be a basics on how to play. No longer will we be able to farm free content by having people come and learn how to play. No longer will UVS Hermit be able to make his entire channel. I am teaching people how to play because the resources aren't there. UVS are providing the resources. So you'll be able to buy your Challenger. You'll be able to get your collector book. You'll have all the cards in there. And then at the back, you'll have, or even at the front, I've not seen it, you'll have 4 pages of learn to play. This is huge. This is a great step for people coming in, learning to play the game. They'll be able to not only experience the demo, go through that, they'll be able to just have this easy, digestible, bigger learn to play. Comprehensive rulebook will probably drop when the judge program drops in hopefully the next few months. And there's a lot of rubber stamping that needs to go down on a judge program, but I imagine you can't imagine they go hand in hand, Rich. You can't have a judge program without comprehensive rules. You can't have comprehensive rules without a judge program. Let's take a look. We're going here. Moving forward, not going to talk about any of this stuff yet. Hold on, can I? Can't talk about that yet. Oh, okay. Another thing UVS is doing, we're moving away from character-specific cards. We're still going to see them across, but you might have seen throughout AOT, Critical Role, the names have gotten a bit more generic. Preparing for an ambush, preparing for an ambush is one there. You got Scream, you got Terror. Yes, we've still got some URs and other things on there. I know I immediately went back on it, but that's because I'm now reading from my notes. I'm trying to just talk out loud so there's not nothingness. But we're not, when we see the URs, when we see the big key attacks, the ones that in Critical Role have got the multiple symbols to match character identity, those will more than likely still be tied to characters. But when we see our lower rarity cards, they'll be more generic. They'll have more generic names. They'll have more generic more generic names to allow for easier reprinting. It's very hard to say reprint some of the cards for MHA1 Recovery Girl's Kiss. There's no way you can get a Recovery Girl's Kiss into Critical Role or Attack on Titan. But if you wanted to put, say, some of the zero diffs like Scream or Terror, you could. You could reprint them into Team AT. So instead of us ending up with loads of cards that do the exact same thing and making retro very polluted, or every set has to have certain mechanics and certain aspects to it to allow for sealed play to be viable, rather than just constantly having to make new cards or be locked creatively, we can now get more generic reprints. We can now get more updated card arts with older cards, and this is something I've been saying we need more of. Not that we'll probably see Release come back anytime soon, which is a shame. I like Release, but being able to update older cards and be able to play them is something that is great for older players and newer players. If we can get some cards in Team T that are MHA reprints, that means that we're going, oh cool, I already have these cards. I'm still going to buy the TMNT stuff because I want the new stuff, but I can play my older cards again. And that's great. It's why we see a rise of the heroic, aka Spanish standard format. People want to be able to play the cards they own. And as Hitch has quite rightly pointed out in the past stream, Retro is not an officially supported format. It is not something that UVS, it's on their radar, but it's not something that they are actively thinking on. I know Paul monitors pretty much every aspect of this community, from the secondary market to community vibes. Paul is everywhere. I love you, Paul, because I know you're probably here. But Paul is everywhere, and he is vibing in this community, in the shadows. He is paying attention to everything we're doing. And yeah, it is just one of the things that he wants us to enjoy playing this game as well as spend money on the game. And that's one of the things that seems to have been identified from it. And Hitch is not shouting at me, so I'm assuming that's fine. I'm not gonna stick it going through my notes for too much longer. Primarily because I also want to make other content here. Tell Paul to look what the UK guys are doing. Retro. Yes, I did bring this up at the beginning of this Connor. I will touch on it briefly as I'm wrapping up. But Retro, yeah, it's one of the things that I do have a video going live this week about Street Fighter 6, and if you are a old head, if you do love the old Universus UFS, check it out, because I go into why the new challenges are a love letter to the history of UVS. Honestly, I think. Oh, yes, thank you. So, three other things that I brought up at the summit that I wanted to make sure I talked about here. Thank you notes. People asked about double-sided foils and why we don't have foiling on the alt-attack cards or flip cards or shift cards. Why the foiling is not on both sides. So the way that this was explained to us is that when you put the foiling on a card, it creates a grain for the card to go, which is why cards pringle. They move with the grain and they pringle out. If you put the foiling on both sides, creating that grain on both sides, then you create opposing forces, and then when the card starts to pringle, it pulls away from itself. This can be addressed by putting thicker cardstock in the middle of the card, but then that card becomes unique. It becomes different than the other cards around it. It is a lot more expensive, it becomes a lot harder, and it makes the card easier to identify in play and in packs. It'll weigh down packs. So the reason we don't have double-sided foil is because they would rip themselves apart outside of sleeves. If you kept one like double sleeved up, I'm sure it'd be fine. But our cards do tend to pringle. All cards pringle, especially in the UK. Humidity here is insane. We got the wettest air out there. So we got that one here. Replacement cards. So during the Gigan PvE beta, very clearly beta, that we did, I opened a Founding Titans Power. And I was very cool. Like, cool, I get to take an extra turn and play another form against the boss. And then I realized I don't have any sleeves on me, so I can't play the shift card in my sealed deck. And it's something that we brought up, and Sam Tate pointed out, it's for sealed. Just having a little Universus card that was, say, blank or had a tick box on it that was like AOT free, I'm playing Founding Titans Power, and you put that in your deck instead of your shift card. And it was like, it's something that they hadn't considered, and Matt Smith, coming from MTG background, was very aware of this kind of thing we were talking about, and it's something that they may look into doing, because as we point out, for sealed play, if we're going to be seeing more shift attacks in the future for sealed, for draft, it is something that allows us to not have to buy sleeves and still play these cards. It's a very cool thing that they can do, and it may be something that pops up on the loyalty store rather than in booster packs, but it's something that we did bring up. The last thing is something I will talk about from TMNT, and something that we did want to have with fresh cut grass from April Fool's last year. We got the eucalyptus scented card, and one of my questions going in was, where's the cheese card? Because that's what we want from TMNT. We want a card that smells of mozzarella. We want a card that smells of pepperoni. We want a pizza scented card. And I asked, and the reason that we're not getting a pizza scented card is that the scent was too strong. If they gave us a pizza scented card, every single product that came over with those cards, every single other card that touched that card, any other card that was in the vicinity of that card would have ended up smelling like pizza. It would have smelled like cheese, and it wouldn't have smelled like real cheese. It would smell like artificial cheese. So they just thought it wasn't worth it. So that's why we're not getting cheese print smelling cards, because we don't want any May Valentine BS going on in our game where people can smell going on there. Plus the cheese scent is like feet. Hey, Hitch, some people might be into that. You know what, Richard, the Gigam PvE might not be for you. The single person sleeve their decks up for that because we didn't have sleeves, because we didn't know it was happening. So yes, as you can find, the cheese also smells like feet. When it came to organized play, this was an open forum. This wasn't Josh telling us what is coming from organized play, because I can tell you what's coming from organized play because I asked Josh directly. Are we going to see consistency? Because one of the things that's bugged players for the last 4 years, bugged me, is that our organized play keeps changing. Every year we get a new system. Every year we get different numbers of regionals. We get different stuff going on. And it was just a case of, it sucks. New players are dipping out the game because there's no consistency to the organized play. Why would you stick with a system that keeps constantly changing when you can go to one that's been established for 30 years? And Josh quite rightly said, yes, under him, organized play will be consistent. It will be a point-driven system. Those point totals may change, but the organized play system we have now of qualifying for Worlds through points is the system that we will have. That to me is huge news. Having consistency in organized play is a great step forward to having consistency in players turning up to that organized play. Knowing that this system is what is going to be in there for the next few years. Love that. But other than that, it was a open forum back and forth where Josh wanted to know what ourselves, our communities, the people that watch our videos wanted from regionals. That's why we got YouTube being streamed at Albuquerque regionals. Tam brought up, why are you not streaming on YouTube? It's free. It's a free resource. It's free archival, and it makes it easier for people to go back and watch the games. It makes it easier for other people to go back and watch the games. I haven't had a chance to go watch the exhibition match between Will and Garrett yet, and I probably wouldn't be able to on Twitch because you've got to mess about with their VOD system, and you've got the insatiable ads that they want to pump out every 30 minutes. Whereas if I go to the YouTube, it's there. I can find it easier because the interface is easier, and it's going to be there until it's deleted. Then I'll get into that one in a minute. So yeah, if you have any suggestions, if you've got anything that you think will bring more people into regionals, comment on here, bring it up in Discord and the general channel. They do look at the general channel and get that conversation going. I brought up in the general channel about getting a collection tab or a way to monitor your collection onto UGN, and I wanted that discussion to get going because I think it's very cool. But it's all about at the minute establishing a store level, getting stores involved, building up the game, building up trust in the game, building up communication with stores. Nick Reagan was telling me he now has 7 stores that he can go do events at, whereas people in the Netherlands and Belgium are telling me they can't get hold of cards at all. And that to me was heartbreaking. I love that people love the Critical Role, but hearing people in Belgium say they cannot get hold of these cards at all, it sucks. To address your point, Richard, how are they going to fix the Karasu cheese? They're not. They don't need to. As Tim Keefe quite rightly put on there, it is what happens when you put significant pricing behind something like this. I was talking with Cameron Cardwell, who did some of the Karasu cheese. He did it for a while, but then wanted to do some proper PvE. If people want to sit there and spend their good hard-earned money to cheese the Karasu boss fight, if you don't know what that is, I have actually got the footage from Albuquerque of the Karasu cheese PvE. It's just a quick way for you to farm points. You can kill any boss in a single round of combat using this Karasu method. And it doesn't need to be fixed. That's the thing. There's always going to be systems like this in place, but it is not a competitive format. If UVS say we're going to put up a who can deal the most damage to a boss in a game, or like who can deal the most damage in a single attack to a boss, then maybe we might need to fix it. But honestly, who cares about the... If you are the kind of player who's showing up to the Karasu, showing up with the Karasu method, and even one of your players is not on board, you switch. Oh, you go, yeah, okay, we need to get you into a different pod. And that is what was happening at Albuquerque. You had Ozzy, Jordan, Nick, and Justin all doing it in their own confined bubble. They were all by themselves. Other people could join in, but they had to be on board with the plan. And I think that is the easiest way to fix it. You have everyone on board, or you have no one doing it. So if people sign up and they go, okay, we're doing the Karasu method. If you don't like it, please find another pod, or please wait. And that's how you do it. I'm sure UVS have heard about other bosses and how they don't really stand up to standard play, and there are things coming that will fix that. But in terms of the Karasu, take 130 damage in a single turn before you even get your first activation, it doesn't matter. The boss can't retaliate enough to kill them. They don't get their activation. It's just a way for basically people to buy prize wall tickets at $2.50 a piece. And yeah, I mean, the tournament organizer is going to be happy with that. UVS are going to be happy with that. The players are going to be happy with that. It's a win-win-win situation. Nobody's losing out there, apart from, say, maybe the content creators at the summit who went into the hot room, came out, and all the military airships had been sold, and we didn't get any for tickets. But to be fair, as UVS said, they had never sold out of a promo before. Why were they going to think they were going to sell out of one at Albuquerque? It had never happened before that they sold out of a promo. Never mind sold out day one. You can prepare for a lot of things, but you cannot prepare for something that's never happened before. Outside of that, let's see. Godzilla is coming. I double checked this, and then I triple checked it by emailing back the lawyer who sent me the NDA, because this information is publicly available on multiple Discords and Facebook groups. Yes, Godzilla is coming next year. No date, no other information. I can just say Godzilla is coming because some people leaked that information already. So I can talk about it because it's publicly freely accessible, and it wasn't done by me. And that is very specific wording over there. Everyone knows that already. Yes, exactly. Farming prize wall tickets is just a pay-to-win system. It is. But it's side events. What's the issue with a PvE pay-to-win kind of situation? That's why the ticket system was readjusted. You get 4 tickets, and yeah, you still having to pay $10 plus tax in Albuquerque, so more like $12 every time you want to play. So you're spending essentially $3 every single time you want to take part in that PvE. $3 per ticket. That's exactly how much Rochester was buying them for in-store credit. Limited stock items, yes. It's not a cool system. It's not a cool thing to do. But as long as the people that are doing it have good intentions and UVS has enough stock, I don't see an issue with it. That's my personal opinion. If you want to spend $80 or 80 quid doing PvE to get yourself an uncut sheet, go for it. If you're doing it specifically to just buy out all of a single promo like the military airship, that's when it becomes a bit abusable. But UVS and Round 3 did kind of address this. They did kind of address this when they were going in there going, okay, they put some to the side, they put them in raffles, they tried to make sure people had access to the military airships in other ways. They made sure they had enough of top cuts. But it is just putting money in the pockets. It is, and it's one of like saying, as long as the TOs can't track it, there's no way a TO is going to remember every single person who's bought and how much they've bought of every single thing. I mean, to be fair, the organizer of the prize wall at Albuquerque, there was no air conditioning in that room. They were trapped behind a table with no air conditioning on a very warm weekend, and they closed the prize wall down, and then like, Teams is still going on and people need to be able to redeem their tickets. He's like, oh, come on, just let me go. So yeah, I get what you guys are saying, and this is great dialogue. This is what UVS kind of needs to be aware of. If there is good enough prizes on the prize wall to justify people creating this farming system, then something needs to be addressed. Whether not limiting the amount of items, may or not, maybe you're making the prize wall tickets digital and you have to redeem them and you get limited on what you can redeem. But that's not going to stop people just getting uncut sheets or the figures or the stuff that the TOs put on there themselves. Limiting how many promos people can get may be a good way to go. I want there to get military airships. I want to get enough for a lot of people, and I couldn't. And then when I went to go get them, they were $20, $30 each. And it was a case of I can take part in side events, or I can buy these promos to take home. I chose the side events. I got a soul leveling uncut sheet. I got it home. The bigger and more impressive thing, I got it home undamaged. But this is another thing that we need to bring up then. Prize walls. There needs to be desirable things on there. There needs to be things that people want to turn up. And they need to also kind of cap this farming system. But at the same time, it's hard to say. I can't imagine anyone in the UK not playing in retro or not playing in teams and farming side events instead of doing those. And to their fair, Justin Birch and Nick Reagan were playing part in teams. They did take part in retro. They were just farming in the off time. So it wasn't like they were just sat there generating points, because they could have done. The way that they were playing, they could have easily shown up at 9 a.m., played through to 6, and walked away with thousands of prize wall tickets. Also, prize wall tickets, Albuquerque, huge improvement. Rather than just an orange ticket that said prize wall on it, it had Organized Play 2025. It had a picture of the Albuquerque countryside on there, so you knew where this was from, and you could only spend it here. Great way to prevent farming, great way to prevent bad actors. I absolutely love that change. Seeing as I have got Connor and Richard and a few other people of the UK community here, how do we feel about getting a cosplay competition going at our regionals? I did film it. The audio got damaged. A lot of my audio from regionals has been damaged, so I will apologize now for some of my videos that will be coming out. They won't have the best audio on them. I'm working with what I've got. The cosplay competition one, I lost the audio from completely. I'm going to reach out to Response on Play because I know they record it as well, see if I can borrow their audio, not their visual, and see if I can sync it up. But it brought in people. There was round 3 got people to advertise outside of the regionals, and it did bring people in. There was specifically at least one person I know that came in just because they found out there was a cosplay competition, and that was huge. And I think especially if we're looking at places like in the middle of Sheffield, in Glasgow, where we know they have a lot of cosplay, if we can get events like, I know Sean is planning other events in the other parts of the country, if we can get regionals or things like UK Games Expo to host events and also have cosplay competitions, we can go for it, and we can have as much fun as Albuquerque did. They had a JJ cosplayer, a Jacob Johnson cosplayer. They had a Bright cosplayer. We had Mitchell Semino with a headache on Sharpie fumes because he'd drawn on JJ's chest hair. He had to run back to his room and get that off. It was really cool to see. It's something I completely forgot about. I would have taken one of my few cosplays, but I was more focused on the Content Creator Summit. And it's something I like to see more of. It's kind of like we're bringing up, it's getting content creators involved in the regionals as well. Murray is the head judge, yes, but Murray could also take what he's doing with these retro cards, retro like decks, and turn that into an event. He could literally have it advertised as part of the regionals, and the Dobbers could film it. You could make content out of it. You could push regionals further. Have a little booth set up with gunslinging with Michael Murray. Beat the deck, take the deck home. And that may bring more people in if it's like officially advertised, if Murray is kind of encouraged to do it, and like if Sean puts it on as like an official side event. £5, enter in, beat Murray, take the deck away. If you don't beat Murray, get either way you get a prize wall ticket, and say you get something else, who knows. Prize wall ticket just for taking part, and it goes in there, and it would be very cool. I sat there on the Sunday while I was in between doing interviews, and I was just DMing PvE, and I had AJ, I had Khan from Rochester coming over going. It was really cool to hear the flavor being added to the PvE battles, and I was sat there with a few people, and they kept just renewing. They kept going back and paying for more because they just wanted to keep doing it, and it was very cool. And it's just one of those things that it would be great to see the Dobbers, myself, Corin, getting more content creators. I know there's I can't remember his name. I know there's other content creators coming out of the works, and there's more content coming from the UK. Getting that involved is something I would absolutely love to do in regionals. We were talking about getting in regionals more interviews, more on-site talks going, and we saw it at Albuquerque again. In between rounds, the commentators were sitting down with people. They were having these discussions. They were having these talks. And I was on there. I was talking with Sam Tate, and we were just chatting about the event and what was going on, and we were just having some fun. But it broke up the time between rounds, and we were able to have a laugh, and it was great for the stream. And when we were talking about this in the summit, my initial thought was, this is going to be rough internationally. It's very hard internationally. We don't have the casters on the ground to sit down and do these interviews, to have this vibe. We could sit there and we could vibe off a webcam, but it's not the same as having the person next to you. It's not the same as having that kind of control. And it is something I feel is lacking from international regionals, is just live commentary, having the people on the ground. We've got UVS on the ground now, and that's great. It's great seeing Josh and Guile and Levi at these events. And we're going to see Levi at UK Games Expo. And we're going to see Matt at UK Games Expo. And that's huge. But having this on-the-ground interviews, being able to pick up people Like, we have the post-event analysis where we'll be able to go, here's Max Lawson, aka Tax Evasions, Rhino list from Nationals. How cool would it have been if we'd been able to, between rounds, sit down with him and go, what drew you to Rhino? Why are you doing this? Like, talk to the community. Highlighting these unique decks the moment they're at the events. Not me trying to chase people down afterwards or getting these brief, quick interviews in between rounds. We can't afford Robin's rates. I know a few cosplayers that would probably be able to do it, and I mean, Sheffield's got a massive university with cosplayers and costume creators already there. I'm sure Sean knows enough people around there, or at least other people will. But yeah, the main prize for the cosplay competition at Albuquerque was one of my Sunjing Mu daggers that Robin had given me. It was a prototype for the Sunjing Mu dagger that I own and that Alex Lee owns. And that went down hugely. I mean, it was kind of a last minute announcement. I'm sure more people would have been very hyped if they'd done it. So, to answer that one, you mean Robin wouldn't do it for love? Robin would do it if I was hosting a regionals. Robin would do it if I was making money from it, kind of thing. Yeah, that would be a favor. Robin doesn't even come to regionals with me. Robin isn't coming to UK Games Expo. It's just me and Flynn. To put it in the most blunt terms, love is not a good business investment. I'm already very draining on Robin's financials, to the point where if I want to go to the next summit, I really need to set up a Ko-fi or a Patreon. I really need to bring in some money, because this regionals was not cheap. It's not like last time, Richard, where we like got a message and we had a call and we booked everything. No, I booked everything myself this time. It was that's the discussion for another time. It is getting close to 11. This has actually gone on longer than I thought it was going to be, and I do love the fact that you guys are here chatting with me. If you've got any last questions about the summit, feel free to form out now. I'm sure people go back and watch this. This has just been me waffling on. Cam will be back next week. I believe he's at a convention this weekend getting Combat Ashes signed by the Bruce Campbell himself. I will ping you what I want from you the moment I drop from here, but because it's only something that you can do for me, and the sooner we can do it, the better. And having your glorious return would be great, even if it's just one more video. I will leave it there, guys. If you are in the comments, please do like and subscribe this video. We just surpassed 400 subscribers last week. I didn't mention it because the last time I mentioned that I went over 300 subscribers, people went and initially then unsubscribed just to put me back below. We're now at 415, so unless 15 people want to really make me cry, we should be safe into the 400s. But do like and subscribe to be kept up to date with all the current information about UVS and UVS Games. There it is. And I will catch you all next time. Do keep an eye out on the channel. I've got interviews with Garrett Brett, Andrew Porat. We've got Street Fighter 6 stuff coming up, TMNT stuff when I can, as well as a secret project I want to get Richard in on. And I will catch you all next time. I'll see you at game night. Bye.